upon these ungodly people.
This is the last 30 days.
The last 30 days
Of the tribulation.
of the tribulation. The time for the 30 days following the second 3.5 years of the 70th week of Daniel. The time of the blowing of the seventh trumpet. Now, under the 12th to the 14th chapter, we had the first six, but now the seventh trumpet, between the sixth and the seventh trumpet was a period of time, an interlude, and so now we are back to the blowing of the seventh trumpet.
So now, do you know what that period was called? Was that during the woes? Is that a part of the woes?
That was now the 12th through the 14th chapter. Those 14 events that we talked about during that time. It's just what took place in the interval. All right. The time of the blowing of the seventh trumpet, the time of the pouring out of the seven vials, bowls of wrath, the time of God's direct wrath. That's in chapters 15 and 16, God's direct wrath. In chapter 11, verses 15 through 19, the seventh angel begins to sound the seventh trumpet, under which seven vials, bowls of God's direct wrath, are poured out. But before John tells us of the bowls of wrath being poured out, he paused in chapters 12 through 14 to give us an interlude. Now that the interlude is over, John, in our present chapters, tell us of the pouring out of these bowls. In chapter 15, he tells us of the preparation for the bowl judgment. And in chapter 16, he tells us of the execution of the bowl judgment. The preparation for the bowl judgment is in chapter 15. John's vision of the seven angels having the seven last plagues. We see that in verse 1. And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the seven angels, go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. In other words, they're not to go out with no Sunday school lesson. God is getting ready to wind things up. And so he's holding this judgment against all of these individuals who have accepted the mark of the beast and have their sign and seal in their forehead and in their hand. And so they're going to receive the blunt of God's wrath. I know that there are some people who read this and they say, this can't be true, because God is a merciful God. doesn't do things like this. But God at this point is tired of evil. He's tired of people blatantly disobeying Him and overlooking Him, and and yet not changing. And so here in the end, He's going to do something about it. The preparation for the bowl judgment, the sign. John sees another sign of wonder in heaven. 7 angels having the 7 last plagues. In 12:1, John saw a sign in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. That's Israel. And in 12:3, John saw another sign in heaven, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns. That's Satan at the head of a 7-headed, 10-horn empire.
Wow.
The 3 signs are related. The judgments of this 3rd sign will deliver the woman from my age-long persecution by the dragon. The 7 last plagues, these 7 plagues are the 7 judgments in 7 bowls, which are poured out under the 7th trumpet during the 30 days following the tribulation. The judgments of the first 6 seals, that was man's wrath. And the judgment of the first 6 trumpets, that was Satan's wrath.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time? The first one?
The 7 last plagues. These 7 plagues are the 7 judgments in 7 bowls, which are poured out under the 7th trumpet during the 30 days following the tribulation. The judgments of the first 6 seals, remember there were 7 seals, of the first 6 seals, that was man's wrath.
Wow.
And the judgments of the first 6 trumpets, that was Satan's wrath. They were also plagues. The 7 plagues mentioned here in this 15th and 16th chapter are the last 3 series of plagues. In the 3 series are a total of 19 plagues under the seal. It's a total of 19. And so, but these last 7 is God's wrath. The filling up of God's wrath began in the first 6 seals. It intensified in the first 6 trumpets. It is filled up completely in the 7 bowls. John's vision of the overcomers. But this is just sort of miles behind and then we go into it. Verses 15, 2 and 4, 2 through 4. We had the vision of the overcomers. The identity of these overcomers. They are the saints who were preserved through the time of wrath, the seventh week, plus the 30 days following the seventh week. And the saints who were martyred during and have resurrected out of the time of wrath, all of whom have gotten the victory over the beast by refusing to worship him or his image, and by refusing to take his mark. And these are the overcomers. So these last, God's wrath will not affect this group. A lot of them have really been killed, and there's others that are yet alive. The location of these overcomers, they are in the millennial earth, standing on a sea of glass, mingled with fire, symbolizing peace wrought through judgment and tribulation.
This is not the people. These are not people in Petra. Is that how Petra's supposed to look? Or?
No, the Petra part is over.
Oh, that's over.
These are that group that in these last 30 days that have survived, that have made it.
So they're put in they're in a place of they're in like a cocoon,
Right.
but it's surrounded by fire.
Right. In other words, John talks
And they're among the people.
about it in the 15th, in the 15th chapter. What he saw.
Oh, I see. Verse 2. Okay.
Read it.
And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on a sea of glass, having the harps of God.
All right. That's that group. John's vision of the overcomers. Just 2 through 4. Read verses 3 and 4.
Before you read that, could you elaborate a little bit on what is the sea of glass? I saw the sea of glass.
The sea of glass is now. This is where, in other words, it's God, Christ, Jesus, standing in heaven on his own word. That's what it actually. That's what it actually fits. That he's standing in heaven, standing on his own word. That his word is going to survive, is going to last through the ages, through all of the situations and circumstances. Those individuals that believe it is going to be standing with him on his word.
So that will take us back to when he did it for the disciples, when he walked on the water. He was standing on his word. And then when the heaven is made of pure gold, transparent as glass.
So it shows us that it's his word is.
Stands.
God has faith in his own word.
Amen.
So these are pictures of him now, in these turbulent times, standing on his own word, with those who trusted and believed in him, standing by his side. Okay.
Now, what is the having the harps of God? What does that
Okay,
mean?
we headed to that.
Okay.
Okay, we're going back to the identity of these overcomers. They are the saints who were preserved through the time of wrath, the 70th week, plus the 30 days following the 70th week. And the saints who were martyred doing and have resurrected out of the time of wrath, all of whom have gotten the victory over the beast by refusing to worship him or his image, and by refusing to take his mark. The location of these overcomers, they are in millennial earth, standing on a sea of glass mingled with fire, symbolizing peace wrought through judgment and tribulation.
Wow.
Now, the occupation of these overcomers, this is what it is. They are playing harps and singing a song of praise. They sang the song of Moses, and we see that in the lesson, and the song of the Lamb. That is, they sang a song of deliverance. Just as Moses sang a song praising God for deliverance out of Egypt, Exodus 15, 1 through 19. And as Jesus sang a song of God, praising God for deliverance out of the tomb, Psalms 16, verses 7 through 11, even so do these overcomers sing a song praising God for deliverance from the beast and the time of wrath. In their song, they praise God for his great and marvelous works, his just and true ways, his holiness, and his future universal rule. All nations will come and worship before him during the millennium, for they will have seen his power manifested in the bowl judgments. That's verses 2 through 4. That's a summary of those verses.
Now, Pastor, not last week, but the week before that, what's the difference in the saints that sang the song that nobody will be able to sing? And this one here, they're singing the song of Moses. So what's the difference in those two songs?
Now, the song of Moses, that's Israel.
Right. Okay, this is Israel.
This is Israel. You see, the tribulation is about Israel.
Right, right.
And the song they sang the song of Moses, because
okay.
Moses was their deliverer.
Okay.
Okay. And the song of the Lamb, that's us. That's the church age people.
Okay. Now, I'm speaking of the one that John said that nobody, you couldn't even learn the song. It was so intriguing to me. Let me see here. Let me see, where was that at? It wasn't last week, it was the week before that. He said that no one could learn this song, only these people could sing it. And I wanted to know the difference between the two.
Yeah, you should have asked me then.
Well, we had come to this part.
I had to go back and check that one.
I'm going to pull, I think it's 14:3.
Okay. 14:3.
Yeah. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne, before the four beasts and the elders, and no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. Now that's Israel too.
Yeah, I remember that too, but I don't know. I'll have to check my notes on that.
Yeah, I was just trying to see if there's is there a difference between this group of people?
I think it's probably the same group of people, but
Okay.
I'll look that up.
Yeah, I thought that was just real intriguing.
Verse 3 is where I got what I was said I was somewhat assembly. And they sang the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thy King of saints. Verse 4, who shall not fear thee, O Lord, and glorify thy name? For thou only art holy, for all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest. Okay. John's vision of the seven angels having the seven golden vials. This is chapter 15, verses 5 through 16 in 1. And the vision is an elaboration of the vision of 15 in 1. The description of these angels, that's in the 6th verse of the 15th chapter. All the seven angels came out of the temple, having the seven plagues, clothed in pure and white linen, and having their breasts girded with golden girdles. John sees the seven angels emerging from heaven's temple, clothed in white linen, God's purity, and girded with golden girdles, God's righteousness, bearing seven vials, bowls, filled with God's wrath, the seven last plagues. The place of origin of these angels, that's in verses 5 through 7. John sees them coming out of heaven's holy of holies, bearing the seven golden vials of wrath. The judgments contained in these vials come directly from the throne room of God. The mercy seat has become a judgment seat. The description of these angels, that's in 16 and 1, a great voice out of the temple, the voice of God, commands the seven angels to go their ways and pour out their bowls of wrath upon the earth's evil people who have rejected his offer of mercy. That people is mentioned in 14th chapter, the 7th verse.
So now, are you going to share what these seven plagues are? Are you going to share what the seven plagues are?
Oh, yes.
So now, with that being the Holy of Holies, so this would be cherubims and seraphims?
It doesn't tell us which angels these are, what type of angels these are.
Well, what was the definition of violence?
The vial and the bowl, they're the actual synonyms.
The violence,
The vials and the bowls.
bones,
Bowls.
Okay, what?
They're actually synonymous. In other words,
Right.
this is God's the most fierce.
So violent bully is God's wrath.
This is God's wrath. Now, no,
Then it's seven right back. I mean,
yeah. Okay, now
Did you just say that
now
vows
note
and
seven
vows are the same?
things concerning our present chapter, chapter 16. The better translation of the word vow, V-I-L-E. This word is better translated bold.
Okay, that. Bold?
It's better translated bold, B-O-W-L.
B-O-W-L?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's the way it's
Oh, yes,
in the
yes.
scripture.
Okay.
yeah. So bold.
The direct command from God to execute the judgments. 16 and 1. These judgments come directly from God. Then we have the close succession in the execution of the seven judgments. Only one command is given to all seven of the angels. The seven angels being apparently execute the judgments in rapid succession.
Wow.
The frequent use of the word great, it is used in this chapter 11 times. The similarity between the trumpet judgments and the bowl judgment, but this similarity does not mean that they are the same judgments as some teach. The bowl judgments are more severe. The necessity of these judgments, the righteous God must execute judgment upon the evil men of the earth, for they have spurned God's final offer of mercy, having known his warning of destruction, and have hardened themselves in sin. And the reception of these judgments, they fall only upon beast worshippers.
Wow.
Those who have the mark of the beast, and that's the unpardonable sin. And so God now is at the point where he's going to rid the world again. 16 and 2.
Wow.
And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth. And there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. Okay, a noisome, hurtful, and grievous evil soul falls upon men. Now that's in Exodus. We saw that happening when Moses was went down to Pharaoh. The persons affected, the saints escape. All beast worshippers are affected. The judgment treated in 14:9 through 11, threatened in 14:9 to 11, is now beginning to be fulfilled. It was told that it was going to happen in the 14th chapter, verse 9 through 11, but now it's actually taking place. The pouring out of the second bowl. Now, it is said about this sword that comes out, that it's ugly to look at, and it creates a pain that is almost unbearable, and it's untreatable. They can't find nothing that would stop the pain.
Wow.
It's a punishment. This is what punishment is. It's sort of like a cancer, and it's painful. In other words, God is now. It does not cause the people to repent. Rather than repent, they blaspheme God.
Oh,
You see, they don't get no better. You see, a whole lot of times, and what this is saying to us, is we want to many times look at people and say, God is punishing them for what they're doing. And but God does not use punishment as a means to get people to come to Him,
right.
because it's been proven in Scripture that this doesn't cause people to come to God. It causes them to think bad of God and cause them to want to blaspheme God and say bad things about it. And so we see here in the very end that this group of people is they're not saying, Lord, I'm sorry, but instead they are blaspheming God. The second bowl, the judgment, the sea becomes as the blood of a dead man. The change in its appearance and quantity. Apparently, all of the earth's seas are affected. But primarily, it's believed that it's the Mediterranean Sea, the one that runs through the heart of Palestine, is the one that is most affected. But then others say that this involves all the seas throughout the world. But now, if all of the seas it's causing the sea animals to die, and you can see all of them washing up on the shore and deteriorating, and the stench of it, and it's poisoning all the fresh water. So that's another form of punishment. The third bowl, the judgment, the fresh water of the earth are turned into blood. They resemble blood in their appearance. Compare with 8 chapter, verse 10 and 11. The results are not stated, but no doubt the plague causes great loss of life from unsatiable and unsatisfied thirst. The angelic response is twofold. The angel of the waters declare the eternal God to be righteous in his judgments upon the wicked. He is only recompensing evil men for the evils they have brought upon God's people. In other words, because of many, many, many of those who have the mark of God, who have had to, they've been mistreated and they've been starved out because they are the target to be gotten rid of. And so millions of them, upon millions of them, have been slaughtered, killed. And so now God is, his wrath is coming against this group.
So this is done before the Battle of Armageddon.
Right.
There are still people standing.
There's no God in them.
You would think after going through all of that. Wow.
But
And
that's,
Armageddon is at the end of the last 3.5 years.
that's the very end.
Yeah, Armageddon.
Yeah.
But this is the last 30 days.
This is the last 30 days.
Yeah.
In other words, God is pouring his wrath out now upon the evil men of that day. And then Armageddon, the seventh bowl, this is when the river Euphrates dries up. And the reason why it drying up, so the armies of the east
Wow.
can come in now and with the final battle. Now, I know we don't want Trump is a good example of that. Of those nations over there that have no atomic power. Because they believe that that will hasten this war. But now, this is not going to, the end time is not, Armageddon is not going to be an atomic war. It's going to be foot soldiers.
Wow.
Now, atomic war destroys the land.
Right.
And when you want to preserve it, you have to send some foot soldiers in there because you're interested in the minerals and all of that, and whatever made that country what it is.
Wow.
That's what you want. So you got to send foot soldiers in. And so that's the purpose of this Euphrates River drying up. So these foot soldiers can get into Palestine because it's a rich land, rich in oil. And so they're going to be marching in for that purpose. All of the nations of the world is going to be going into Armageddon is the name of the place where this is going to take place.